Wishing everyone an indestructible and powerful evening. While those in power and the media close to the president's office, I mean Zelensky, are discussing that very thing, the interview with Yulia Mendel, Zelensky's press secretary, who gave out so much information that it will take months and months to process it. In Ukraine, everything is not turning out in the best way. The thing is that if Putin spoke about peace before, now they are already saying that he does not want peace but other territories of Ukraine. In general, everything that was discussed even half a year ago is suddenly becoming relevant again. And this is happening right at the moment when, as they say, Zelensky is at his weakest. We will discuss this now, but first let us see how the pro-government media protect Zelensky and say that this very speech by Mendel is a speech against each of the Ukrainians. This is an attack on our freedom, rights, and all that. The main thing is that it is not about the duty to be an entertainer stormtrooper during imprisonment. Nobody claims that. Everything is fine, but the fact that somewhere there, well, let us better take a look. Here is one of the journalists, who is even telling with indignation on her face and in her whole demeanor about how bad Mendel is.
You can allow yourself to be emotional. Well, first of all, it was enough for me. Those to whom she gave this interview, as well as the management, that's all there is to it.
That's it. We're closing everything. Everyone she gave an interview to, that's her. She talks about Carlson. Apparently she doesn't like him. I don't know why, but she doesn't like him. Of course, she considers herself a more powerful journalist than Carlson, apparently, but she doesn't like him.
Well, we could have ended it immediately. Everything fits, both Russian IPSO and propaganda.
No need to put anything there, Auntie.
And everything, and so on. First of all, I support Zelensky in this situation.
For the first time, she supports Zelensky. I have already reposted so many videos with her, I think you have watched all of it. It's strange to talk about her supporting Zelensky for the first time right now.
And I'll start with what form, but I defended it. And I am absolutely sure that there will be professional people in power.
The man with the complicated expression is Deputy Sinyutka, by the way. But despite that last name, what he's proposing there is something that not everyone in the 40s could have understood.
Professional politicians, they stay and they will definitely come there.
Yes, that's how it is. Punish everyone, don't let them in, as always. Well, in general, let's get started. Look at what's happening. Here the Financial Times reports saying that Putin won't stop at Donbas. Some sources have revealed the real plan of the Kremlin. We're told that Moscow and Kiev have almost lost faith in the prospects of joint peace talks under the auspices of the US. Those in Kiev have withdrawn from it and now feel less vulnerable to US pressure for a quick, unfavorable deal, after Ukrainian forces stopped the Russian offensive. But to be fair, there is no talk of any offensive at the moment. Some Telegram channels are reporting about it, but when you look at what's actually happening there, it's clear you can't call it an offensive, although the preparations were indeed extensive. The Financial Times obtained information from one of the Ukrainian officials. Besides, it is interesting, could it be from Yermak? That the American side has achieved no progress from Russia. Everything that could be agreed upon has already been done. But for example, those very rare earth metals have been allocated to the US, according to an agreement that for some reason no one is talking about right now. They went quiet, silence, just peace and quiet. Nobody recalls that the largest resource agreement was signed. First of all, they signed something with Britain for 100 years, then they signed with the US, on the transfer of rare earth resources and not only of Ukraine to the USA in exchange for some kind of guarantees there. And then it turned out that it was a kind word from Trump, as Zelensky said. But we trust Trump as much as ourselves, he says. That's like trusting a capitalist with vast experience in making those very deals he loves to make, carry out and implement with different partners, including Iran itself. By the way, we'll talk about that today as well. So what? Last week, Russia stated that further negotiations make no sense if Ukraine does not withdraw its troops from Donbas. And here they say that Putin has been convinced that it's possible to capture all of Donbas by autumn. And after that, he plans to raise the price for any ceasefire by expanding territorial demands even further. The point is that Ukraine must hand over the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions, the annexation of which Russia announced in 2022, despite the fact that most of these regions remain under Ukrainian control. On top of that, there was also talk about Zaporizhzhia itself, about Odesa, and some other regions that have suddenly come up now. When Trump talked with Putin about the terms of the agreement, the terms of the peace deal, it was only about Donbas, those very 20 territories that are under Ukraine's control. Now it's already about what was being discussed back in 2022. That you give us these territories and then, well, maybe there will be peace and an obstacle course, what's it called, a buffer zone and everything else. That is, the demands from the Russian side have significantly intensified. Well, what can be said here? Well, this is a victory. Victory, I think, is exactly those borders of 91, and resilience and courage and power, all these adjectives that it uses. Everything is there in that very vacuum of a resounding fiasco. All of this is just wonderful, in a negative way, of course, with a minus sign, but it's no longer surprising when it comes to the powerful diplomatic corps led by this very representative. This is Foreign Minister Sibiha. I've talked about him many times as well. What's next? Some sources have said that Putin's real ambitions go further, to establish control over Ukraine at least up to the Dnipro River. And that means capturing Kyiv and the Black Sea port of Odesa. He won't take Zaporizhzhia, Donbas or Kherson, but there was always a plan to take Kyiv. The task is set and must be completed. Plus, Putin rejected the offer of European mediation. As far as I remember, Mushakov, Putin's special representative, directly told Macron off. Monsieur Macron, whose representatives flew to Moscow to offer something there, well, they left empty-handed. In general, those negotiators are really something. That's quite a diplomatic corps, too. By the way, if you are tired of politics, I have a channel exactly without it, absolutely. This beautiful channel, Americans on the Moon. Here we talk about science, first of all, and secondly, we fight obscurantism. Well, for example, a certain Cassiopeia, Irina something, tells stories about how some Anunnaki built pyramids 8,000 years ago. And she even shows how they take an anti-gravity device and a molecular disintegrator. They are building pyramids and torturing each other at the same time. In general, it turns out to be such a wild mix of all this. But there are also scientific videos about astronomy, about the moon, about Three-Eye Atlas, about radiation, by the way, around the moon, around which there are many various twists, and, again, obscurantism. In general, connect, subscribe, the link will be right here. Meanwhile, the war goes on. By the way, they're telling us about it, and I wrote about this in my Telegram channel. Today there was the heaviest shelling in Ukraine in many, many weeks. Here we have... Okay, it's too early for the TV. There. The aftermath of the drone attack. Here's a map showing where the attacks happened, and this map is quite extensive. As a result, in Rivne, Lutsk, Kovel, Zakarpattia, Khmelnytsky, Ivano-Frankivsk, Kolomia, Zhytomyr region, Vinnytsia region, Odesa, Kyiv, Kherson, Cherkasy region, and Lviv region, there were or still are drones. And in addition to all that, Uzhhorod as well. For the first time, as was stated today, it was hit by strikes from the Russian side. Apparently that hadn't happened before. I might be wrong, but that's what was written in the newspaper today. I mean in the media. Of course, you can read all kinds of things anywhere, but this seems to be true. By the way, a lot of other information, including an exclusive video, for example, a fight between migrants and Roma, is available in my Telegram channel. And by the way, there's exclusive video of a man in Ostrozhynets in the Chernivtsi region freeing a Ukrainian. The man is elderly and really strong. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Subscribe, point your phone or smartphone camera at this beautiful QR code, and you'll get to the Telegram channel. There's also a link in the video description. If for some reason you can't or don't want to point your camera at the QR code, you can go there directly through the description in this video. So, what's next? While Ukraine is being shelled, it would seem at the very least we need as much protection as possible to surround Ukraine with an impenetrable wall, some kind of anti-missile weapons or something else. The same drones, interceptors that everyone talks about, and suddenly we're being told that Ukraine is preparing to export weapons to the US. So it turns out that Ukraine was given money for armaments, for procurement and production. Ukraine bought and will probably produce them. And now it's going to export these weapons to the US. Honestly, I don't understand this at all. In Ukraine, they keep saying there are no missiles for the Patriot, not enough drones, not enough of this, not enough of that. There's just not enough of anything, including things like canned stew, socks or foot wraps, whatever the army is using now. And suddenly it turns out that weapons will also be sold abroad. And it won't be the state selling them, but private companies owned by those who are currently running the state. And so many interesting questions come up here that it's impossible to list them all. Let's discuss them in the comments as well. We are told that the governments of the US and again Ukraine have prepared a draft memorandum that outlines certain conditions for a potential landmark defense deal between the two countries. We're told that the document would allow Kyiv to export military technologies to the US and, together with American companies, produce drones on US territory. And the war in Iran has become a showcase for Ukrainian developments. We're told that Kyiv was transferring something along with instructors to Middle Eastern and Persian Gulf countries, and they used drones to protect the instructors, apparently with some success. Although, on the other hand, Trump himself said that Ukraine didn't transfer anything, then other sources said they did, but that warehouse was bombed along with the instructors. It's hard to know who to believe here, but if again, Ukraine wants to export weaponry created by its own hands, then it causes surprise, I repeat, that this weapon is needed by Ukraine itself. What would even be exported, why, and for what purpose from a country that's in a terrible state because of constant attacks by drones, missiles, and all kinds of other weapons? Honestly, I don't understand. On the other hand, our Zelensky hopes that in China, Trump will talk to Xi Jinping not only about everything else, but also about the war in Ukraine. He himself will be discussing the war in Iran, and Zelensky says that we are grateful and expect that the issue of ending Russia's war against Ukraine will be raised now while the US president is in China, Zelensky said in his speech at the summit. For some reason, in Romania. What is he doing in Romania? Either he is exporting Roma from there, or he is engaged in some secret technologies, again of the Roma there, how to assemble a cart without nails. I have no idea what there is to talk about with Romania, with all due respect to that country. But now he's gone to Romania, and while the country is under drone attacks, Zelensky is negotiating with the US about arms exports and saying something about peace. Here we go again. We really need it. No comments here. On top of that, there's also some very interesting news that the Russian State Duma has passed a law giving the president the right to use the army to protect Russians abroad. What is being said here? The purpose of this law is not fully understood, because he, Putin, already has the right to take measures to protect citizens. In the event that foreign or international bodies make decisions that contradict Russia's interests. What now? Well, it's not clear. Maybe they'll send troops somewhere again, or maybe it's just for show, like Be Afraid. Because right now, besides that missile, what's it called? Sarmat, I think, which can circle the whole Earth and strike any point on land or in the ocean. And now they're adding some kind of new defenses, like if someone takes a candy from a kid in kindergarten, the brave warriors immediately rush in. I'm joking, but something similar is being planned. And lastly, in the news, Iran has put forward 5 conditions to the US for resuming negotiations. What are they? Well, obviously they're things that Trump will never accept. Ending the war on all fronts is one thing. Lifting American sanctions is also one thing. Releasing frozen Iranian assets is still too early, but compensation for damages, meaning reparations for damage caused by the war, that's clearly not acceptable. Iran, asserting its right to sovereignty over the Hormuz Strait, which wasn't the case before, is also not acceptable. Trump has already stated that no, we will not accept this. And what does that mean? But the dove of peace started a war that won't end anytime soon, and again, there's nothing good about that. Now, as usual, according to our tradition, let's see which of the powerful Ukrainian leaders is talking about us. Zelensky will invite them now.
Well, let's listen to the clowns. Go ahead, comrades.
And here they are, these greatest specialists of all times and peoples, right here with us. Let us see who wants to speak first. Probably this journalist here from the fighters who discusses all sorts of weapons with some bearded guy. And then the journalist makes an unexpected confession.
Howitzer 2000, that is my dream. Did they really have to name it that?
Maybe Maria, not Dream. That's what I'm thinking. A Ukrainian journalist on a Ukrainian TV channel talking to a Ukrainian soldier says, "That's my dream." What kind of surzik is that, lady? Well, what is this? Well, it's not good and it's not nice. What dream? It's Maria. That's my Maria.
This is something great and the best that could generally happen.
The best? What kind of surzik is that? My God, that's terrible. Let us put on, just in case, the goggles of power, because this is some kind of craziness, and evaluate the woman from the perspective of power. It turns out that we have Ipso here, they can't fool us. If there is a manifestation of the Russian language in the Ukrainian magnificent speech of this journalist, again, excellent specialists, then it turns into such a big incident that even he laughs from above.
Did you see her? Tell me honestly.
Yes, of course, I saw her.
And do you need to have some kind of aptitude for that?
Who did you see? The howitzer she dreamed of firing?
Uma, I mean, even someone in the humanities, will you be able to fire a cannon after 2 or 3 weeks, or do you still need to have a precise mind for that? Since you've started, let's discuss recruiting. Some people may already be interested.
She dreams of firing a howitzer. At whom? At what? Where? It's absolutely impossible to understand. The main thing is to fire. That's her dream, to use her own words.
They looked and dream about how I shout cannon shot from the howitzer's armor. Who are you looking for? And first of all, what qualities?
Soldiers are looking for mushrooms in the forest, Aunt.
I can see that. A cannon shot isn't quiet, so you'd need a loud voice and a strong back to carry it all. So where should I aim?
Carrie, Hall, I mean, what's going on? Where did they come from? She used to work as a storekeeper in a beer shop. What is this? Where is this from? This is Channel 5, probably Poroshenko's.
Who are you looking for?
You can pick a job that matches your interests, like working with artillery or learning about drones and NRK.
Well, yes, meaning stormtroopers are not needed by anyone. They say there is a shortage of stormtroopers. As soon as they show a soldier, again for some reason, they don't have a single scratch, no military tan, nothing at all. All of them say that yes, no, stormtroopers are just for that, just for whitewashing and painting. But what we really need are some economists, PC operators, refrigeration unit managers at war and all that stuff. Well, of course, we also need operators for those barbershops and beauty salons, where all these female and male fighters go regularly. I mean, those from the Monaco battalions, from the, what's it called, Rattle, Trinket battalions, and all the others, including Uhilisa. Well, and here we have someone else. Here a deputy says the following. You, or this in my opinion exactly, oh no, this man, 2 men, in short, with complicated faces, are going to say something interesting right now.
An SEB in the armed forces, or for the armed forces, there is no other option.
In the armed forces, or for the armed forces, you, the guy on the left is thinking, he's like, well, I'm not in the armed forces, probably for the armed forces, okay, I'll go assault the tree lines. He takes off his headset, goes and immediately assaults the nearest tree line. Regardless of the fact that dog owners walk their dogs in short.
One should not assume that the army consists solely of people with specialized military education who are called to serve. Absolutely not. The current structure of the military reflects a different reality in most cases.
Well, he also loaded a bunch of flags into his car, something like that. I don't understand why the flags, so that everyone knows he's not from some Beregoslanova or something. Well, everyone can see he's Ukrainian. Well, honestly, I don't use all the Alexandrov words that the journalist used, like using the Russian Mektat instead of Mria. The flag is Ukrainian and he wraps himself in it. Maybe he's just cold.
People without prior military experience have gained it. Preparation should start in school.
Yeah, straight from school. Or better from kindergarten, like that drone mother was saying, that in kindergarten they gave you a tree line and go learn right there, capture it with entrenching shovels from Kuleba. Wonderful, just wonderful, not a country but a dream. And then they say, why? I read the news today, they're surprised, why aren't Ukrainians coming back? It sounds like a description of a dream country where no matter where you look, everything is perfect, the government is ideal, and everything is breathtaking, just like Keanu Reeves said. And the locals also find all of this very strange, so what are the conclusions? It looks like Zelensky has overplayed his hand both literally and figuratively, and now he's having problems on the domestic front as well. With his own lawmakers and externally with Russia and Putin, they've ended up back where they began. They wanted to turn everything back, and that's pretty much what happened. Literally. That's all for now. Subscribe to Alexandrov's channel. Goodbye, everyone.
Well, objectively, the role of Europe will increase now. It is just that Europe will be the main ally of Ukraine in these possible negotiations, although I will repeat that until we bring Putin to his knees, there will be no negotiations.